The last time anyone saw Lauren Tate, she was jogging along Willow Creek Trail, a popular running path just outside Fairview, Oregon. It was a crisp October morning, the air thick with fog as the first rays of sunlight pierced through the towering pines. The leaves crunched under her running shoes as she moved at a steady pace, her earbuds in, lost in the rhythm of her breath. But sometime between 7:10 a.m. and 7:16 a.m., Lauren disappeared. Her fiancé Daniel Brooks was the first to sound the alarm. They had a routine. Lauren always texted him after her morning run. When the message never came, he called her. No answer. By noon, her phone was going straight to voicemail. That wasn't like her. By 2 p.m., Daniel drove to the Willow Creek trailhead himself. Her car was still there, parked neatly in its usual spot. The doors were locked. Nothing looked out of place. But Lauren? Panic set in. Within hours, the Fairview Police Department launched a search. Officers, volunteers, and K-9 units swept the trail, calling her name, searching the riverbanks and thick underbrush. No footprints, no clothing, no phone. It was as if the earth had swallowed her whole. Then a break in the case. A hidden trail camera, mounted high in the trees near the final stretch of the jogging path. Detectives reviewed the footage, expecting to see nothing unusual. Instead, they saw something chilling. At 7:12 a.m., Lauren jogged past, her auburn ponytail bouncing with every step. At 7:14 a.m., a dark figure stepped onto the trail behind her. At 7:16 a.m., the camera glitched, a brief flicker of static. When the footage resumed, the trail was empty. Lauren had vanished. Detective Ethan Cole leaned back in his chair, his stomach twisting. Someone had been watching her. Someone had been waiting. And now she was gone. Detective Ethan Cole had seen his fair share of missing person cases, but something about Lauren Tate's disappearance felt different. The footage from the trail camera, the way it glitched right at the moment she vanished, sent a chill down his spine. It was too convenient, too precise. Someone had planned this. Someone had been waiting for her. Cole and his team began canvassing the area, questioning locals and hikers who frequented Willow Creek Trail. Most had seen nothing unusual. But then they spoke to Margaret Holloway, an elderly woman who lived near the entrance to the trail. "I didn't see the girl," she admitted, gripping her dog's leash tightly, "but I saw a truck." That got Cole's attention. "What kind of truck?" "A white pickup, old model. It was parked just beyond the trees." Cole scribbled in his notebook. "Did you see the driver?" Margaret hesitated. "Yes." He got out for a moment. He was tall, wearing a dark jacket, and he had a scar right here. She traced a line down her left cheek. It was deep, like an old wound. A scarred man? Cole's gut twisted. He'd worked cases before where predators watched their victims for days, sometimes weeks, before striking. They stalked from the shadows, learned routines, picked the perfect moment to make someone vanish. And now there was a man with a scarred face, waiting near the trail the exact morning Lauren disappeared. It couldn't be a coincidence. Back at the station, Cole dug into recent reports. 3 months earlier, another woman had reported being followed near the same trailhead. She described a white truck, a man in dark clothing. But she had been lucky. She got in her car before he could get close. The problem? She never saw his face. Cole exhaled sharply, flipping the case file closed. This wasn't random. This wasn't bad luck. Lauren Tate had been targeted. And if they didn't move fast, she wouldn't be the last. Daniel Brooks sat in the dimly lit interrogation room, his fingers gripping the edge of the metal table. His eyes were bloodshot, his face pale. Detective Ethan Cole studied him carefully. This wasn't just a worried fiancé. This was a man on the verge of breaking apart. "You said Lauren called you that morning?" Cole began. "Tell me about it." Daniel exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. "Yeah, she called me at 7:10 a.m. It was just a quick check-in, like she always did before finishing her run." His voice wavered. "She sounded normal, nothing was wrong." Cole nodded. "And that was the last time you spoke?" A long pause. "No?" Cole's eyes narrowed. "Go on." Daniel swallowed hard. I called her back around 7:15 a.m., just a minute before the trail camera glitched. Cole leaned in. Did she answer? Daniel's fingers tapped nervously against the table. Yeah, but she didn't say anything. Cole's pulse quickened. What do you mean? There was shuffling, like her phone was in her pocket. I could hear her breathing, but it was fast, like she was scared. Cole's jaw clenched. And then Daniel's hands balled into fists. His voice dropped to a whisper. Then I heard a man's voice. The room felt colder. Cole's breath was steady. What did he say, Daniel? Daniel looked up, and in his haunted eyes, Cole saw something deeply unsettling. He said, "Don't turn around." Cole felt a chill crawl down his spine. Don't turn around. Whoever had taken Lauren had spoken to her, knowing she was still on the phone. Whoever this was, he wasn't afraid of being heard. And that meant one thing. He had done this before. Detective Ethan Cole gripped the edge of his desk as he listened to the recording again. The static-filled, distorted audio from Lauren Tate's recovered phone sent a chill through him. The sound of rapid breathing, rushed footsteps on gravel, the unmistakable rustling of leaves as if someone was moving through the woods. Then a deep, calm voice. Don't turn around. A sharp intake of breath, a gasp, and then silence. Cole exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. Lauren had known she was in danger. She had been on the phone with Daniel when the man had spoken, but then the call had dropped, and she had vanished. The search team had found her phone buried under leaves, about 30 yards off the main trail. That meant something crucial. Lauren had tried to hide it. She must have dropped it on purpose, Officer Jenna Hart said, pacing the small office. Like she wanted us to find it. Cole nodded. And she left us a message. Jenna frowned. What do you mean? Cole replayed the last second of the recording. There was something faint, almost inaudible. He adjusted the volume, isolating the background noise. Then he heard it. A single whispered word, barely a breath. Help. The hair on his arms stood up. She was still alive, Jenna whispered. She was trying to tell us something. Cole's mind raced. The way the phone was hidden, the whispered plea. Lauren was fighting back. She had been taken, but she hadn't gone down without leaving a trail. His gut told him the answer was in the woods, somewhere deeper than they had searched before. And then the phone pinged. A forensic analyst had retrieved location data from the last time Lauren's phone was on. Cole stared at the screen. The last signal before it was powered off had come from 2 miles west of Willow Creek Trail. Jenna's face paled. There's nothing out there except old hunting cabins. Cole grabbed his coat. Then that's where we start looking. Detective Ethan Cole gripped the flashlight in his hand as he stepped deeper into the woods. The damp earth sank slightly beneath his boots, and the air was thick with the scent of pine and decay. 2 miles west of Willow Creek Trail, hidden behind dense undergrowth, stood an abandoned hunting cabin, weathered, silent, and unsettling. The search team spread out, circling the property. The cabin had clearly been neglected for years, broken windows, rotting wood, vines crawling up the walls. But something about it felt wrong. Fresh tire tracks. Officer Jenna Hart muttered, kneeling beside the dirt road leading to the cabin. Someone's been here. Cole's pulse quickened. He moved toward the front door, pressing his gloved hand against the wood. It creaked as it swung open, revealing a dark, musty interior. Dust floated in the air, and the floorboards groaned under his weight. Then he saw it. A chair, sitting in the center of the room, its wooden legs scuffed and dirt-streaked, the remains of cut ropes still tied around the arms. Cole's stomach twisted. Someone had been restrained here. Recently. His flashlight swept across the walls, and that's when he saw something even worse. Pinned to the wooden planks, just above the chair, was a photograph of Lauren Tate. Her jogging outfit, her ponytail, a candid shot taken from behind as if someone had been stalking her for days. Jenna sucked in a breath. Jesus! Underneath the photo, scribbled in black ink, were chilling words. She ran, so I let her. Cole clenched his fists. His gut had told him this wasn't just a random abduction. This was calculated. The man behind this was playing a game. Suddenly, a noise, a branch snapping outside. Cole spun, gun drawn, as the search team moved toward the sound. Flashlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the forest. But there was nothing. Only the trees, the wind, and the unsettling feeling that they weren't alone. Then, a call came through on the radio. A woman had been spotted stumbling out of the woods 3 miles away. Weak, bruised, barefoot. But alive. Lauren Tate had escaped. Lauren Tate could barely stand. Her feet were torn from running barefoot through the woods, her body covered in scratches and bruises. She clung to the paramedic as they wrapped a blanket around her trembling shoulders. Detective Ethan Cole approached slowly. "Lauren," he said gently, crouching beside her. "You're safe now." Her swollen eyes met his, filled with something deeper than fear. Determination. "They're still out there," she whispered. Cole's breath hitched. Lauren nodded weakly. It wasn't just him. The pieces snapped into place in his mind. The trail camera glitch, the hunting cabin, the chilling message pinned to the wall. This wasn't the work of just one man. This was a group. Lauren's voice shook as she recounted what had happened. I was running. I felt like someone was watching me." She swallowed hard. "Then I heard his voice. He told me not to turn around." Cole stayed quiet, letting her continue. "I don't know how many there were, but I heard more than one voice. They took me to that cabin, tied me up. She clenched her fists, forcing herself to stay calm. "They watched me, talked about what they were going to do." Jenna Hart, standing nearby, tensed. "Did you see their faces?" Lauren shook her head. "Only him, the one with the scar." Her fingers dug into the blanket. "But I heard them. They were planning something. I wasn't supposed to be the only one." Cole's blood ran cold. "They have more victims?" Lauren hesitated before nodding. "I heard them say a name. Maya." Cole immediately turned to Jenna. "Check missing persons. Find out if there's a Maya reported missing in the last few weeks." Lauren's voice dropped to a whisper. "They won't stop." Cole clenched his jaw. He had been right. This wasn't random. It wasn't a crime of opportunity. It was a system. A twisted hunting ground. And now that Lauren had escaped, they knew they had been exposed. Which meant they had only one option left. To cover their tracks. And that meant finding Maya before it was too late.